Welcome to the Ian Bousfield Experience. I'm glad you're here. This series of podcasts are just things that come up in my mind when I'm thinking about playing, when I'm thinking about teaching, and general thoughts about music. There are some things here that I hope you'll find really useful. And don't forget, if you've got any comments or if there's anything you want to discuss further, go to ianbousfield.com. Hello. Nice to speak to you again. I've missed you. I haven't released anything for quite a while. There are lots of reasons for that. I gave up social media. I can't even remember how long ago it was. It's kind of like that these days, isn't it? Probably 5 or 6 weeks. And I gave it up because I realized that I was sharing this earth with a few people whose opinions didn't seem very appropriate at this time. So, and it's interesting, the more that you withdraw from modern life and the more you enjoy looking into the sky without aeroplanes and there aren't cars coming past your house the whole time, the more you sort of focus on the basic, what the Germans call the Wesentlichen, most important things in life. You know, my family, my gardening. I've officially been put on gardening leave. And, you know, and my students. Oh, and since it looks like I'm going to be home for the summer, we've even got chickens. And I realised that the podcast that I give when I talk to you, I'm basically fired up and inspired by conversations I've had with colleagues, by working with my students, and that kind of, or doing concerts, you know, and that kind of life is not ground to a halt because I'm still really involved in my class, but I don't have so much sort of stimulating stuff going on. So that's another reason why I stopped podcasts for a couple of weeks. And then I was actually doing some gardening the other day, and I was listening to some wine podcasts. Yes, that's what I listen to. And I realized it was just nice to hear somebody talking to me. Even though they weren't all particularly great wine podcasts, it was nice to hear some enthused people. So I'm giving you a list of excuses why I haven't spoken to you for a while. And then here's a really cool reason why I haven't spoken to you. As you know, I set my class a listening list. Some of them are listening to it diligently, some of them are not. And I have noted who's who. However, I chose 2 colleagues. One who kind of specializes in modern music and one who specializes in early music, and said, look, could you give me kind of like 5 or 6 of your favorite sort of like desert island discs? And with one of my colleagues, the head of studies here in Bern, he didn't do it, and he didn't do it, and he didn't do it. And then I thought, well, maybe he's really busy. Maybe he just, must have so many other things to deal with at the moment with all of this Corona stuff going on and organising entrance exams and final exams, And then finally an email arrived, and it was enormous. And the care that he had taken over explaining why each one of the recordings was inspirational and extraordinary. Really way beyond the call of duty. And I just read this email with my mouth open. It was just fantastic. Oozing with somebody's love and care. Love of music and care for students. But then at the bottom of the email came the big kicker. And now, Ian, I've done this, now you have to do yours. And I realised why it took him 2 weeks to reply, and when he did, it was sort of this huge explanation. Because I've been stuck ever since I've been in this crisis of like, hang on, which are the top, let's say, even 10 recordings of my life? What are they? So I've been stuck in Barbaroli Sibelius 7s and Colin Davis Sibelius 6s and John Tomlinson's Parsifals, and I'm nearly there. I'm nearly there. I'm going to release a podcast with my Desert Island discs on it. And so I got a bit of my own medicine there. Someone stopped me cold in my tracks and said, okay, now your turn. But it's coming up soon. And I just wanted to keep you up to date with where we are with the home working, with the home office or distance learning, and share with you some of my conclusions as to how we can take this forwards. And then also a bit of a guide to teachers and to students for how we're going to deal with the next 4 months of our life. Now, normally this would be a discussion that I would share just with my own students, but hey, why not? It's interesting. A friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, Bernhard, works for human resources in an important Swiss service industry, and we had this discussion the other day over a glass of Grüner Veltliner, actually, and it was, researchers were saying, maybe perhaps over the next 5 to 10 years, we could perhaps try building a bit of home office into the odd job, a bit of distance learning perhaps. And all the bosses were like, no, you have to sit in the office, you have to be there 9 till 5 and I want to see what you're doing. And then all of a sudden, it's everybody go home and work now. I mean, there isn't a research project in the world that would have got close to this. We're all at home working and everyone's saying, hey, this works. You know why? Because it has to. If it doesn't, we're out of a job. We have to find a way of making it work, and we are doing. And so I think that's just so funny that, can you imagine the number of meetings in offices around the world about how much time someone would be possibly allowed to work from home. And, all of a sudden it's like 100% home now. And I think all of us are ready for this to come to an end for many reasons. But certainly this has been a huge positive. And I just wanted to share with you the journey that I've been on with my students. And as many of you know, I have an extremely talented group of young people in my class, and it's been interesting to learn more about them and to learn more about me as a teacher, and to see those who have thrived in this situation. There are those who have taken this as an opportunity to have me on tap, as it were, 7 days a week. I have to admit, I haven't replied to a recording every day on the day that I've got it, but I pretty much always have. I've taken the odd day off, not many. So those who have thrived, who are pushing themselves at work, send me a recording. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? And it really is that thing of the more you put in, the more you get out. I've also found a couple of students who have pushed themselves to the point of punishing themselves. And it's been interesting watching students develop for a deadline, for a submitted competition video or an exam video in some cases, where people who have been fantastic players have pushed to the point where they're broken. There's this great German phrase saying, totgeübt, practiced to death, where it doesn't work anymore. And you see those people, those students who just work and work and work. And also it's just that diminishing returns. And it's a great opportunity for me to help them, or watch them learn with them, hold their hand through it and say, look, at this point it started to go downhill. Be careful, work out what you really need and don't go too far. And also, the thing about doing recordings and sending recordings in some cases, people are doing it every day. That means they've got a microphone there. And I think in hindsight, I would probably back off with the frequency of it, because, we all have a mirror at home and we all have a set of scales to weigh ourselves. And there are those people who get out of bed and look in the mirror, in the morning and look at themselves with no clothes on, and then they stand on the scales and they see how bad it is. When you're recording yourself permanently to send in, it's like standing and looking in the mirror and standing on the scales all the time and reminding yourself of every wrinkle and extra pound of weight that you need to deal with. And so if you record yourself perhaps too much, you just confront yourself with things that need developing the whole time. And perhaps in the future I would reduce that to maybe recording oneself a couple of times a week and then going back to working on it. It's been also really interesting for me to notice who's organised. Who are the organised, the disciplined, the constructive, and unfortunately the lost. It's very, very interesting to see how people have planned their weeks, planned their days. The ones that I have to say, hey, come on, where are the recordings? What are you doing? And the ones where it's like, hey, come on, take it easy, have a day off. It's too much now, and that will help me without any question work with these people in the future, work with these students that I have, these wonderful people. So that's kind of where I am with it. I think it's reached the stage where it's time that we saw each other. And in Switzerland, things are opening up. We're already doing live exams, and we're going to start normal face-to-face teaching in a couple of weeks, I think. Just before the semester finishes. I think we have a couple of weeks. But in the future, I think I will be taking this into my normal teaching, and I guess I will probably do 1 week out of 3 like this. I live in the same city that I teach, but I really think this has been a huge positive step forward for us as teachers. We didn't want it, but we've got it. And the other thing is, I keep getting approached by, and this is relating to students, I keep getting approached by people saying, oh, it's about the kids, they're stuck at home all summer, they have no incentive, what are they going to do? And we have to do something, let's do free masterclasses and free competitions and free this and free that. Well, I've already gone in over the past about eroding our profession, so you know my feelings on that. But I said earlier on in this podcast that I draw my inspiration from talking to colleagues and students and stuff. Well, you know what? I've drawn my inspiration recently from something else on Netflix, the thing about the Chicago Bulls. What was it called? The Last Dance or something. It's about the Chicago Bulls 1997 series. And I haven't listened to all of the episodes or looked at all of the episodes, but I've listened, I think, 4 or 5, or watched 4 or 5 episodes, and it focuses in on the season through the eyes of Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman. I saw Dennis Rodman actually in Miami a couple of years ago. He's a big guy. And it was, for me as a teacher, it's been fascinating, and also as a musician trying to get the best out of myself. It's been fascinating to watch the sort of like the early life and the university time aspect of these 3 magnificent sports people. And there was this one thing with Scottie Pippen where his university basketball coach said, at the end of it works out as the second year of university. I don't want you to go sophomore or whatever, something like that. At the end of the second year of bachelor's, we thought he was the best basketball player in the university. And he came back after the summer 4 months later, and we thought he was the best basketball player in America. And I want to address directly teachers, university teachers and students right now. Oh, they need inspiration. When I was a kid, it wasn't bloody summer schools and this course and that course and that masterclass. Masterclasses were things when I was a kid that Yehudi Menuhin did. not the second flute in the Bibbidi Bob Philharmonic. It's back then. You practiced. Sorry, I sound really old, don't I? But I remember there were a few summers where I didn't have anything to do when I was a kid. And actually, when I was in the Halle Orchestra, there were a couple of summers where I had very empty, there was nothing much for trombones to do. I'll tell you what I needed. I needed a room and a trombone. And I used to go in there and play it a lot because I wanted to be the best. Because I wanted to be the best I could be. And I used to go in there and try to play the most perfect note I could. The most beautiful sound and the most beautiful connection between notes and the most emotional sounds, and to change the emotion, and to change the colour, and to change the articulation, and to have control of all of those wonderful basic things. I had an incentive, yeah. I wanted to be the best. And so I think there are, I might later in the summer do something for people. I kind of am doing this to reach out to people, to let people know they're not on their own. But students out there, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to take 4 months of your life and come back unrecognizably brilliant. And this is about how much you want to do it. And to go into a room and strive after that sound and that articulation and that musicality and that phrasing. Don't worry about the difficult stuff, apparently difficult stuff. That looks after itself. Doing the simple things beautifully is what takes the work. You have to go into kind of like a meditative trance in a room, really focusing on creating that beauty that you have in your mind. And I think at these times, we have to do two things. We have to have understanding for ourselves. There you go. Now I don't sound so old, do I? You have to have understanding for the fact that something quite tough is happening to us right now. And another of the reasons why I haven't spoken to you is because I haven't been really quite sure where I am at certain points over the last month or so. I've gone through a lot of strange feelings, strange emotions. People always ask me whether I miss being in orchestras. And I said, no. I did that 30 years. The music's inside me. I still love music. I remember everything. And I'm actively living with music the whole time, working with students. I play solo concerts, blah, blah, blah. And then a couple of weeks ago, Tom Watson, Phil Parker's music, Prozone, the great Tom Watson, son of the great Jim Watson. He wrote to me about Bruckner 8 and which recording did I recommend. And I found an old recording of the Vienna Philharmonic doing Bruckner 8 with Haitink. And I listened to a bit of the beginning of the last one and then the last 3 or 4 minutes of the piece. And I absolutely broke down in tears. I absolutely fell to pieces, crying my eyes out in my practice room. So it's not easy for any of us. I was not expecting that to happen. So we're all going through strange times. So we need to have understanding for ourselves, understanding for those around us. And then you need to get tough and get on with it. Because it is what it is. Let's do it. So that's my message to students. Have understanding for yourself. Have tolerance for yourself. Don't blame yourself. Don't be angry with yourself. Don't be angry with yourself for being sick of the situation. It's a reasonable reaction. Don't be angry with yourself for getting a bit down. It's reasonable. And then toughen up and get on with it. I'm sounding old again now, aren't I? Anyway, so I question myself, that piece of advice. Why aren't I doing a Scottie Pippen? Why aren't I saying, hey, this is 4 months to go into a room and practice 8 hours a day. Why aren't I doing that? Because believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am not practicing 8 hours a day. I would describe my state of practice at the moment as tick over. I reckon if someone said you got to play a concert in a week, I'd be about back to normal in about 4 to 5 days. I haven't taken a day off. I'm still working, but not an awful lot, and I'm making a nice sound and if I hit a nice sound and with a beautiful articulation and the legato is good and I can play over the whole register, I kind of say, okay, that's it. Fine, let's move on. And I question myself, why? I love the trombone. I love music. I love what I'm doing. Boy, am I investing time in my students and I'm loving it. But I realize that my ambition is to have a normal summer. My ambition is to have a normal life. To know what it is to homeschool my kids, to make sure the garden looks nice, to go for walks. It's not all just leisure activities, but it's actually to leave the trombone a little bit in the background, because I know that in my normal, healthy adult life, this will be my last chance. And it was an unexpected chance. So I guess my ambition is to live a normal life. Your job is to work out how you're going to spend these 4 months. Students, you know what my opinion is. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. If there are any issues that you found particularly interesting, don't forget to contact me, and always go to ianbousfield.com for lots more interesting stuff.